What to do, YouTube? MJF for Life here, back again, bringing you part 10, our 10th and final part of the Gen 6 analysis. So we're just gonna get right into it with the next Pokemon on the list, Haxorus. Now, Haxorus has incredibly high attack as a pro, 147 base attack, and it has a great ability in Mold Breaker, which allows it to hit Pokemon like Rotom and Bronzong with Earthquakes, negating their Levitate, allows it to hit through Sturdy, allows it to hit through, any Pokemon ability that would hinder its attack. That's what Mold Breaker does, basically. And its main con is going to be its speed. Again, I think it has 97 base speed, which is one lower than Hydreigon, which is really annoying. I don't know why they didn't just make it 100, I mean, honestly. The old stats you saw for Haxorus were the SD, Double Dance, and then Choice Scarf, and Choice Banded. And Haxorus being this low, top 5 lowest, I guess you could say, it's kind of strange for me because I really felt like Haxorus was going to be... I think Haxorus was really popular early on, especially like Choice Scarf set, and then it kind of just died down once people got annoyed with its 97 base speed. I think that's really where Haxorus fell short, as well as Haxorus doesn't really have the greatest move pool, honestly. It did get the help of Black and White 2. Move Twitters really helped it out. Gave it Superpower, which is a really nice utility move for it to have. Dragon and Fighting pretty much goes unresisted. So I guess in a sense you only need 2 moves, which is why the Double Dance set was so effective. Because if they were going to switch in like a Gliscor, you went for Swords Dance. If they were going to go, oh, my bad. Sorry about that. So if they're gonna switch in a Gliscor, you could just Swords Dance and just OHKO that with a +2 Life Orb Outrage, or if late game you could go for a Dragon Dance and just sweep everything. So I don't know. I'm surprised to see this Pokemon this low. I mean, I know that it does have its problems, but this low is sort of surprising to me. But as for next gen, I don't think you're going to be seeing Choice Haxorus anymore. I don't think it's going to be nearly as effective with the fairies running around. So I think you're going to see more of the Dragon Dance sets and Dragon Dance with Iron Tail. Again, it's also going to be hard to run Double Dance because fairies don't take anything from your Stab Dragon move, so you're forced to hit them with an unstab move. Most likely Earthquake, because you can't even use Superpower because fairies resist Superpower as well. So you're forced to go for Dragon move plus Earthquake, and maybe you can hit the fairies somewhat decently with a +2 Earthquake. But a Pokemon like Sylveon, which is probably going to be pretty bulky, can take a +2 unstabbed Earthquake and just fire back with a Moon Blast and get all that HP back that you took away from it, as well as dealing super effective damage to your Haxorus. So I just don't think the Double Dance set is even going to be that good. So I definitely expect Haxorus' usage to go down, just because of that. Like, there's really only one set that's going to be effective on Haxorus next generation. That's going to be the Dragon Dance set with Outrage, Iron Tail, and Earthquake or Superpower. But we'll get on to the next Pokemon, which is Gastrodon. So Gastrodon's typing pros are its bulk, special attack, ability, and its typing. It has really good bulk. I think 111 base HP with some decent defense and special defense stats. It also has some pretty good special attack. I think like base 92, which is pretty decent. Its ability, it definitely got a buff in 5th gen with the Storm Drain ability. The Storm Drain ability now absorbing water moves, taking no damage from water moves, and getting a special attack boost from them. So this Pokemon was like the perfect counter to Politoed, to Rotom, Keldeo. I mean, this Pokemon countered a lot of Pokemons. It checked Thundurus, unless Thundurus was running Grass Knot, or it had to get a couple nasty plots to be able to KO it with the Focus Blast. This Pokemon checked a lot of Pokemon, so again, I'm surprised to see this Pokemon so low. I think probably the main reason is, the cons for this Pokemon are just physical threats in general. Pokemon like Terrakion, or even, Choice Specs Keldeo can hit Gastrodon hard on its physical side, which is its weaker side, for some big damage. Even if you run max defense, Gastrodon cannot take close combats from Terrakion and Pokemon like that. Scissor, those Choice Banded U-turns really hurt Gastrodon. Things like that. Kind of for the same reasons why why Vaporeon just wasn't as effective and overused is the same sort of similar reasons why Gastron isn't as effective. Even though I feel like I'm surprised that Gastron's usage is lower than Vaporeon, because I feel like Gastron counters much more Pokemon than Vaporeon does. Also, it's weak to grass and literally can do almost nothing to grass type Pokemon. That's also another weakness of Gastron, being 4 times weak to grass, whereas Vaporeon is only 2 times weak. That may explain it. Now, for the old sets, you saw defensive, especially defensive, and then rarely you would see Choice Specs Gastrodon, which, you know, after it got a Storm Drain boost, Choice Specs Gastrodon hit pretty hard, especially in the rain. Those Choice Specs Scalds did a lot of damage after Specs, Storm Drain boost, and Rain boost. For next generation, I'm pretty sure that Gastron's usage is going to stay on the lower end of the spectrum once again, just because it's probably not going to be getting too much in the way of new moves or new assets, and it's going to run into the similar problems that it did last gen for the next gen, because Pokemon like Mega Lucario, Mega Garchomp, Mega Venusaur is going to be popular as well. All these Pokemon are just going to run right through Gastrodon and not even care. So probably going to stay on the lower end of the overused usage. May even drop down to underused, along with Vaporeon and Conkeldurr. It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Next Pokemon we're going to be talking about is Hippowdon. And Hippowdon's pros are its bulk, really good, really high HP stat, really good defense. Special defense is pretty low, but its high HP stat kind of helps buff the lower special defense. Its ability, obviously, Sandstream to call up a Sandstorm is really good. And it has actually some pretty good attack. I think 112 base attack, which is really, really high for a Pokemon that's a defensive wall. Now, its cons are going to be its weaknesses. It's weak to ice, grass, water. All those are common special attack types, and it's not really good to be weak to all 3 of those. And that's kind of Hippowdon's main downside, is being weak to those 3 types. But even still, I'm surprised that Hippowdon again is so low. I figured that people would want to run. I thought, like looking from 4th gen onto 5th gen, I thought people were going to run more Sand teams like Hippowdon and Tyranitar on the same team, because once we found out that Politoed got Drought, Rain teams kind of have the advantage over Sand teams. So I felt like running 2 Sand Streamers would kind of help buff that, because you have 2 switch-ins that would. God damn it! Sorry guys, I'm all over the place today. But anyway, you would have 2 switch-ins to bring up your weather, whereas the opposing team only had 1. I really thought that was going to be a thing, but I guess it just wasn't. People I guess felt like one Tyranitar was enough, and so Hippowdon's usage dropped all the way down. So the old sets you see for Hippowdon were defensive or especially defensive. Again, because of its high HP stat, it was able to function somewhat decently as a specially defensive wall while being able to still take some physical hits. So for next gen, Hippowdon's probably not going to be getting anything super good that's going to make people feel like, oh, I'm going to run this over Tyranitar. So you're probably going to see its usage stay about the same that it is. It's going to be low. Unfortunately, Hippowdon, even though it has the Sandstream ability, Sand teams just really don't seem to need it unless they're running like a Sand Stall team. That's probably the only time that you'll see somebody opt to go for Hippowdon over Tyranitar. Next Pokemon we're going to be talking about is Reuniclus. Now, Reuniclus' pros are its bulk, has really good bulk, high HP, high special defense. Defense is not the worst, it's not that bad either. Its ability, Magic Guard, allows it to not take any indirect damage. It also has another great ability in Regenerator, although because Magic Guard is such a good ability, you probably don't really want to run Regenerator, especially since Reuniclus is a Pokemon that likes to set up, so it's really, without Magic Guard, it'd be susceptible to a move like Toxic, or even Will-O-Wisp. It has high special attack, base 125, as well as Steel-type Pokemon no longer resist Ghost, so if you could run a Calm Mind set, Calm Mind Recover with Psychic and Shadow Ball, and you can hit pretty much everything, I think, except for Bisharp, I guess, like that one random thing that you're never going to run into and overuse. I think Bisharp is the only Pokemon that resists the Psychic and Ghost Stab type combination for 6th generation. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else. And the Pokemon that used to wall you, Jirachi, no longer walls you. Now you still have, because you're so slow, you're still going to have to deal with the flinch hacks, and that's the main reason why Jirachi was such a good counter against Reuniclus, because after a couple Calm Minds, Reuniclus was super bulky. It was going to be hard to take it down with even 3 hits of anything. unless you're just a powerful physical attacker like Scizor or T-Tar. And those are the main cons for Reuniclus, is that it's weak to Bug and Dark, and obviously Scizor and T-Tar are high up on the usage list. So that's really what hurt Reuniclus, because especially Scizor being the #1 most used Pokemon, being weak to the most overused Pokemon is not a good thing, because you're going to see it more likely than not. And when it comes in, you're not going to be able to OHKO it with any one of your moves, and it's just going to hit you up with a Choice Banded U-turn for some big damage, and then switch into something that can finish your Reuniclus off. So that's one of the main reasons why Reuniclus was so low on the list, because it's weak to both T-Tar and Scizor. Also, Jirachi can take it one-on-one. Also, it's super slow, so you can KO, you can revenge kill it after you lower its HP down with almost anything. So those are one of the main reasons why Reuniclus is so low on the list. But the old sets you saw for it are Trick Room and the Bulk Up Calm Mind, as I was just explaining. Now the Trick Room set, that set is very potent, especially for next gen, when Pokemon like Jirachi, who aren't going to be as effective as Special Wall as they were in 5th gen, Jirachi's probably going to be more of a Scarfer or an offensive Pokemon next generation, and it lost its resistance to the Shadow Ball. So you run Trick Room, Modest, Max Special Attack, plus Life Orb, you get up a free Trick Room, and now you're just going to start running through stuff, because now that Steels don't have that resist, I mean, there's really not many Pokemon that can take on Reuniclus, because, you know, Psyshock / Psychic, hit, you know, strong stab type move, Shadow Ball for Pokemon like Jirachi, Latios, and then you got Focus Blast for the Steels, Heatran, Ferrothorn, which can't really do much back to you. So this Pokemon's gonna be I mean, it was a threat last generation. It was one of those like silent threats, like, oh, you see your Pokemon's team at the T preview and you're like, oh, they have a Reuniclus. And then once they switch it in and they go for Trick Room, you're like, shit, I don't have anything for this. Something has to die. So Trick Room Reuniclus was one of those like silent threats, those silent killers that would get you 1 to 2 kills late, especially late game. And I think that especially now that Shadow Ball hits Pokemon like Jirachi for super effective damage now, that's going to be even more effective than it was last gen. So I expect Reuniclus' usage to go up slightly, not that much, because I think people are going to be so enamored with the Mega Pokemon plus, you know, other Pokemon that they're just going to kind of forget about Reuniclus. But for those people who can understand the power of Reuniclus and how powerful it's going to be next generation, I think that its usage will go up slightly because of that. So the next Pokemon, the last Pokemon, the one Pokemon that's so barely overused it might as well be underused, is Dugtrio. And the only reason why Dugtrio is overused is because of its speed and its ability. The two pros, speed, 120 base speed, is pretty good. I mean, it's very good, honestly. And its ability, Arena Trap, sorry. And that's honestly, even with the speed, Arena Trap is the only reason why Dugtrio is overused. Because Dugtrio can, you know, take care of T-Tar. It can take care of Pokemon like Heatran easily. Pokemon like Jirachi. It just traps them. They can't go anywhere, and then you just kill them off. So if Dugtrio is a semi-decent revenge killer, and its ability Arena Trap is the reason I feel like the only reason why it's overused. And why I say that is because its cons are its attack is pathetic. I mean, 80 base attack, like a Choice Banded Earthquakes doesn't always KO a Tyranitar. Like, that's how pathetic Dugtrio is. And I really feel like Choice Banded is the only, if you're trying to revenge kill stuff, you have to run Adamant Banded, because that's the only way you're going to kill stuff with Dugtrio. Its attack is so pitiful. Even with Choice Band, it does disappointing damage, even when it's super effective. Yeah, Dugtrio just, there's a reason why it's so barely overused. Now, the old sets you saw were Focus Sash lead with Reversal, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Stone Edge / Sucker Punch. That set was kind of effective because you could switch it in on a Pokemon like T-Tar, set up your rocks for free, and then have them attack you, activate your Sash, and then now you have so full-powered reversals to throw out at stuff. With that 120 base speed, you're guaranteed to hit something for some 200 for an attack with 200 base damage, unless obviously they have a priority move. There's the Life Orb set, which honestly just didn't do enough damage, and I don't think is even good at all. Then the Choice Banded set, which is really the only way you can deal out, you know, some semi-decent damage with Dugtrio, is running Choice Banded. Now when I ran Dugtrio, I ran Adamant Banded. I said, fuck the speed, man. I need these things to die. Like, the things that I wanted to kill with Dugtrio outsped them anyway, so I didn't really need to be max speed. That's just for me personally. That's what I felt like. And even with Adamant, its speed still hits 339, which still outspeeds base 100s, even if they're plus speed nature. So I really feel like Adamant Dugtrio is probably the most effective Dugtrio. Adamant, Choice Band, and Dugtrio. But Dugtrio, it is good to kill those Pokemon that you need to get out of the way. For example, like if you want to sweep with a Venusaur, but you're not running Earthquake, so Heatran is going to be a problem. Just run Venusaur alongside. Run Dugtrio alongside that Venusaur. Run like a Volt Turn combo with Scissor, because Scissor really draws in Heatran a lot of the time. So you Scissor, U-turn out, they go into the Heatran. If the Heatran has a balloon, the U-turn will pop the balloon, and then you can go into Dugtrio, trap it, and just finish off the Heatran. Don't have to deal with any of its shenanigans, and then now your Mega Venusaur is set up to just take on the rest of your opponent's team. So Dugtrio is good for that, and I definitely think that it's going to stay overused again because of its ability, and it still has some usefulness depending on your team. Dugtrio does have some usefulness and some utility on your team, even despite its pathetic attack. So it's definitely going to stay overused. It's probably still going to be the last on the list, but an overused Pokemon is still an overused Pokemon. So that's going to do it for this series. This video's over. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys liked what I had to say. I've gone through every single overused Pokemon. I don't think I'm going to do any other tiers because that'd just be too much. I am going to do another video talking about the Pokemon that I think have a chance to move up to overused next generation. That'll come sometime later. But the game's almost here. I mean, today's Wednesday for me, so it'll probably be Tuesday for you when you hear this video. But so for me, I only have 3 more days until I get the game, and I'll probably try to upload some Wi-Fi battles if I can. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, like, all that other good stuff. And I'm out of here. Deuces.